Hello, Instagram. Now live. Gonna wait a moment for people to join. This is my Sunday weekly series called Sunday Weekly Revival. It's live every Sunday on Instagram beginning at 11 a.m. on the East Coast, so Eastern Standard Time, and 8 a.m. on the West Coast, Pacific Standard Time. So again, this is Beto here. I am your daily divinity coach on Instagram. I post daily, every day, about spirituality. It's a written post, and then every week I do this series, which again is entitled Sunday Weekly Revival. I see we have one join, and I'm sure others will be joining soon. So yes, again we are here for my weekly series, Sunday Weekly Revival, here on Instagram live chat every Sunday starting at 8 a.m. on Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast and 8 a.m. on the West Coast, Pacific Standard Time. I see Amazing Wellness has joined, and we have a couple others that are joining. Hello. So we are going to go ahead and start beginning this episode 2 today. So episode 2 of my weekly Sunday live cast is titled No Justice, No Peace. So again, the title for today's show is No Justice, No Peace, which is a very popular slogan amongst protesters, particularly those that are out on the streets protesting for racial justice right now. So before I begin talking about No Justice, No Peace, what I wanted to do is wish everybody out there a happy Father's Day, and also thank those that have personally wished me a happy Father's Day. I really appreciate the warmth and the well wishes. So I wanted to make sure I said that. So again, happy Father's Day, and thank you to everybody who wished me a happy Father's Day. So to begin today, what I wanted to do is last week on my episode 1, I took a storytelling approach. I told a story, enveloped everything around a story. When I was in divinity school and seminary, they taught us that the best way to deliver a sermon or a lecture is in a story-going format. What I wanted to do today is take a different approach. I wanted to talk about the news. So I'm going to go ahead and take off my glasses, and we're going to go ahead and start. So what's going on in the news? Well, if you've read about or watched CNN or read, like I do on my phone, the news that comes through, yesterday there was a re-election rally, a campaign rally for Donald Trump, the sitting president of the United States, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And this re-election rally, there's many that felt that it shouldn't have happened. Number one, because of the COVID-19 crisis, that there's still a surge of COVID-19 infections in certain parts of the United States, not the least of which is Oklahoma, the state where Tulsa resides, where the re-election campaign rally took place yesterday. So again, there's many that were concerned that the campaign rally, the re-election campaign rally in Tulsa shouldn't take place yesterday because of the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to that, many felt that the platform that Trump is currently boasting about, this law and order platform, does not speak to the current situation, especially in the streets, amongst the people who are protesting for racial justice in the wakes of the murders of George Floyd by the Minneapolis police, along with the killings of others, including Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and again, others. So there is that also taking place. And according to polls, the majority of Americans do support the protesters, which is a lot different than it was in '92 when I was amongst those protesting the Rodney King verdict, or back in the 60s, with the protesters against the Vietnam War and for civil rights. Today, national opinions changed. People, for the most part, are for the protesters, with the exception of the leader or the head of the nation, Donald Trump, who again is on this platform of law and order. So that was the backdrop to what happened in Tulsa yesterday. Before the rally, the Trump re-election campaign boasted that they had over 1 million requests for tickets for those who wanted to attend this re-election campaign rally there in Tulsa. They also, the Tulsa officials, city officials, prepared for 100,000 to convene there in Tulsa. Whether they're going to partake in the rally itself, whether they're going to be outside of the rally and supporting Trump, or whether they're going to be counter protesters. So they prepared for 100,000. The stadium itself, or the arena itself, seats 19,000. Trump boasted that there would not be an empty seat in the arena, that all 19,000 seats would be filled. So when I woke up this morning and I read the news, none of those three claims were actual reality. Although there were 1 million requests for tickets, they weren't people who purposed to go to the rally. As a matter of fact, what happened is teens mobilized online to request tickets to this event as a prank, as a justice prank against the re-election campaign of President Donald Trump, current President Donald Trump. So although there were actually 1 million tickets reserved, nearly all, or most of them anyhow, were from teenagers who were actually pranking the re-election bid of Donald Trump or his campaign. So that's number one. 100,000 is, according to the reports I read, did not descend upon Tulsa yesterday. As a matter of fact, there is only a handful of pro-Trump supporters that were outside the arena and not inside. And the demonstrators were all very peaceful, and they actually had a rally separate from where the arena was there in Tulsa, again, according to the reports I read. So 100,000 did not descend upon Tulsa yesterday. And then number three, the claim by Donald Trump that there would be arena with no empty seats. Matter of fact, approximately half the seats were empty. According to the reports I read, estimates are that there were about 10,000 people there. Again, none of the predictions were reality. As a matter of fact, almost the opposite was. So again, what happened? The teenagers mobilized and pulled a justice prank upon the sitting president of the United States by reserving tickets to this re-election campaign rally that they had no intention of attending. This prank reminded me of a piece of Mexican history, or I should say Chicano history, the history of Mexicans living in the United States, that is often overlooked, or a lot of people don't know about. And so I don't know if you've heard about Joaquin Murrieta or not, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell this story because I think it's relevant in the times that we're living in now. So Joaquin Murrieta, back in 1848, the United States took over the northern part of Mexico. So before 1848. Before 1848, California, for example, and other southwestern states or western states were part of Mexico. So 1848, if you remember, according to history, was when the gold rush took place, particularly in Northern California, which actually is where I originate. And hence why the football team there in San Francisco is named the 49ers, because of the gold rush of 1849. So anyway, Joaquin Murrieta, this is shortly after the U.S. took over California. Beforehand it was Mexico. So Joaquin Murrieta, a citizen of Mexico, he was there in part of the gold rush. He was a 49er, and he was very successful. And what happened is that the white miners, the American miners, became jealous of Joaquin's success. And they ended up killing his wife and hanging and murdering his brother. Joaquin wanted justice. So he ended up forming a band, a gang. They called them bandits. They're really justice seekers who seek to take from the white miners, the Anglo miners, the American miners, and give to the poor Mexican communities of California at that time. So he's known as the Robin Hood of the West. You can say the Robin Hood of California, but the Robin Hood of the West is actually what he became known as. So what happened is these California law enforcement, the California Rangers, so to speak, would be out hunting Murrieta. They'd go into Mexican communities throughout Northern California and try and find where Joaquin Murrieta was. And so when they would go into these neighborhoods, the Mexican people, when they would ask, who's Joaquin, where's Joaquin, who's Joaquin, the people would stand up one by one and say, Yo soy Joaquin. Translated, I am Joaquin. One by one by one. They would prank the law enforcement who had no idea who Joaquin was, and they would say, I am Joaquin, right? Men, women, children, everybody was Joaquin. So that again, what happened yesterday with the teens there in Tulsa reminded me of Joaquin, the story of Joaquin Murrieta, and specifically how the Mexican people of California at that time, back during the gold rush, when the law enforcement would come into their communities, would stand up and say, Yo soy Joaquin, protecting Joaquin Murrieta, but also pranking the law enforcement of the U.S. or of California at that time. So anyhow, what else took place in the news this weekend? A lot going on. Juneteenth celebration took place on Friday. If you aren't familiar with Juneteenth, because I know I have a lot of followers from across the globe, beyond the U.S. and Europe, India, and other places. Juneteenth is actually a celebration that started in the state of Texas when emancipation was declared in Texas, that all slaves were free. That's now spread nationally, so that across all 50 states now celebrate Juneteenth, although not a national holiday per se. But again, that's the idea of Juneteenth, national holiday started in Texas, now celebrated nationally, regarding emancipation of slaves in the United States. I actually attended an event, a Juneteenth celebration event here in Boston on Friday after work. It was in Dorchester, if you're familiar with the Boston area. And at the event, there were speakers speaking out for racial justice and against police brutality. There are rappers, politically minded rappers and singers, in addition to mothers that spoke. And I arrived a little late, so I was only able to hear one of the moms speak, but it was quite heartbreaking, actually, because she told a story of how her son was killed by the Boston police. So anyhow, the event was actually sponsorship or helping to raise funds to send a group of mothers from Boston to Minneapolis to march with other mothers who've lost their children to police violence. So that was the event I attended, and it was a very well attended event, very professionally organized. The young people who set it up and organized it did a wonderful job, and hats off to them. And I know there are celebrations like that all across the nation. One in particular was in Washington, D.C. that made the news. What happened in Washington, D.C. on Friday is a group of protesters actually tumbled a statue. It was a statue of the Confederate General Albert Pike. We share the same first name, although I go by Beto, but no relation at all, obviously. Anyhow, the statue of Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a general in the Confederate Army. The Confederate Army that was out to fight the Union and protect their way of life, which was the practice of slavery. So these protesters on Sunday there in Washington, D.C., tumbled this statue to white supremacy. And they tumbled it, they destroyed it, and they burned it. And rightfully so, justfully so. Because, and here we're going to start talking about the divine. The divine is against idols. I mean, that is. The divine is for justice. That is. So these statues, these idols to white supremacy, they need to be abolished. How they're abolished, that's not my job. There are people out there who work on that, who, they have their legal mechanisms or whatnot. People vote over these things. But the bottom line is these are idols to white supremacy that need to be abolished. No justice, no peace. Again, back to the beginning. No justice, no peace is a rallying cry of protesters out in the streets protesting right now for racial justice. It was a rallying cry that we used back in 1992 when we were protesting the Rodney King verdicts. Again, a rallying cry used back in the 60s. So this is a very popular rallying cry. And in accordance with the divine, it's truth. We cannot achieve peace without justice. I mean, that is just theological truth. I talk about it as a portal, and I actually have 3 bands that I give out to followers to remind them of this, those who wear them every day, and I know many of you do who are watching. The first one is a gray band here, Manifest Justice. The second one is a blue band, Manifest Abundance. And the third one is a black band, Manifest Immortality. I give these out free. I sponsor it myself. I have no sponsors other than myself. And if you're in the U.S., shipping is free. So if you don't have a set of these 3 bands yet, please reach out and I'll happily put them in the mail for you. But anyhow, back to this point, I always start out with justice. The divine wants justice, abundance, and immortality for all. Today we're talking about justice and how it relates to abundance. So justice is the portal to abundance. Now, many assume abundance is about material wealth and material things. And there's a truth to that, foundationally. The divine does want all of your needs and desires to be met. That's just truth. The law of attraction is real. You can attract your desires and wishes. Having said that, that's foundational. That's not the higher level. The higher level of peace is the higher level of abundance is this: the peace that surpasseth all understanding. That's the true abundance. So when we talk about justice as being the portal to abundance, justice needs to be served so that abundance can be reached, so that we can reach the peace that surpasseth all understanding. Now let's test this theory. Say you're a multimillionaire or a billionaire. Now put yourself in their shoes and think as they think. Do they really have peace? Well, if you're a multimillionaire or a billionaire and you've achieved abundance, or at least you think you've achieved abundance, the reality is you haven't until you've achieved peace, or that peace that surpasses all understanding. Do you follow me? So, for example, why do multimillionaires and billionaires separate themselves from the people? Why do they live apart from the people? Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer of all time, did not hide from the people. As a matter of fact, during an interview, he was interviewed about bodyguards, why he doesn't have a bodyguard. And he said, my bodyguard is your bodyguard, your bodyguard, your bodyguard. We all have the same bodyguard. It's God, it's Allah. See, Muhammad Ali never hid from the people. He never had a bodyguard. These billionaires, these multimillionaires, they have these extravagant security systems for their homes and whatnot. Why would you need a security system if you're living in abundance, if you're living in peace, in true peace? You wouldn't need that. So again, just testing that theory of no justice, no peace. If there's no justice, you can't achieve that peace, even if you have material wealth, even if you're a billionaire or a multimillionaire. Now, I know there's always exceptions to rules, but I just wanted to test that theory with you. So again, the theme of this episode number 2, no justice, no peace. Wanted to talk just a little bit about abundance, a little bit more. So there are what has been termed prosperity gospel preachers who really just teach on one thing, abundance. And these teachers, many of them are very popular. They do spiritual retreats that bring in, millions of dollars, right? They charge tickets for these retreats, $10,000 a head or a person. And they also have these mega churches with tens of thousands of people. I'm not a hater, but the reality is, if you're only teaching abundance, you're not teaching the true abundance, because without justice, you can't achieve true abundance. So what you're actually doing is putting people on a roller coaster, where they're practicing the law of attraction, and all of a sudden they have these desires and these gifts, but then they have no peace. they might lose some things, and they're back on up, and they get some more things, and material wealth, and then, oh my God, I'm not having any peace, and they go down. So what you're really doing is just putting people on a roller coaster when you're separating abundance as of itself and only teaching abundance. But again, that does not mean that the design does not desire abundance for you personally. Absolutely. We all need food, we all need shelter, we all need clothing. The divine wants that for you, wants abundance for you personally, but the divine also wants abundance for all. And that's why I always lead with justice. To achieve that true abundance, which is the peace that surpasses all understanding, we need justice. Justice needs to be manifested. And that's why I say that those who tore down the idols, and I know there's more idols than the Albert Pike idol that was demolished, but those that are tearing down those idols of white supremacy, I say justfully so, because justice needs to be manifested so that we can all achieve that abundance, that true peace, that peace that surpasses all understanding. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up now. In wrapping up, I wanted to thank you all for participating in my second episode number 2, No Justice, No Peace, here on my weekly series, Sunday Weekly Revival, on Instagram live chat, taking place at 8 a.m. Here on the East Coast, 8 a.m. on Pacific Standard Time. After this, I go right to Facebook Live and give the same discussion on Facebook Live, starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 8:30 a.m. On the West Coast. And I did want to say that, again, these bands, this set of bracelets, Manifest Justice, Manifest Abundance, the blue band Manifest Abundance, and the black band Manifest Immortality, which we'll soon talk about Manifest Immortality, because I know there's a lot of questions about that. But this set of bands, I sponsor, give these away for free. So if you don't have a set and you'd like a set, please reach out to me. Free shipping in the U.S. So again, thank you all for joining me this morning here on Instagram, this morning on the East Coast anyhow, on Instagram live chat, and hope you'll continue to participate in future episodes, and wish you the best. Thank you. Bye-bye. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Happy Father's Day.